At Eightfold, we are driven to provide the right career for everyone in the world. It is our distinct privilege to be the AI platform for the state of New York's Virtual Career Center. New York is one of the largest states in the country and bigger than most countries in the world. Department of Labor for the state of New York is busy getting their citizens back to work, their businesses back to work, and providing personalized upskilling and reskilling opportunities for sustainable and relevant careers going forward. It is my pleasure to welcome Commissioner Roberta Reardon of the New York State Department of Labor. I had the pleasure of finally meeting her in person in Albany a few weeks ago. Over bagels and Dunkin' Donuts coffee, she shared her own amazing journey. There's no one better to explain the why we need to change our thinking and our plan of action and the role that AI needs to play for our workforce today. Please welcome Commissioner Reardon.
Thank you to the entire Eightfold team and especially their president for inviting me to participate today in the Cultivate 21 Talent Summit. Kamal and I were able to sit down in person a few weeks ago. It was a wonderful conversation and it really meant a lot to me. Thank you to my fellow speakers and to all of you who are tuning in. It's such an honor to have an opportunity to speak with all of you today. We are in uncharted water. The COVID health crisis has upended lives and permanently changed our workforce. This change is concurrently intimate and global. For context, in New York State, the Department of Labor has paid nearly $100 billion in unemployment to nearly 5 million New Yorkers. That is 45 years worth of benefits in just 17 months. Let that sink in. Today, we face an unprecedented need, but along with it, an unprecedented opportunity. So let's set the stage about our unique opportunity. This last year and a half has seen incredible turmoil and unrest, not just in the United States, but indeed around the globe. The pandemic has forced people into their homes, out of their jobs. It has been a time of great confusion. There's been a shift in societal values. Last year's Black Lives Matter movement was incredible in the United States, pulling men and women of all ages and all ethnicities into the streets to say that we all have to have the same opportunities, the same equality, and if one does not have it, we all lose it. It was a great moment in our history, actually. At the same time, we began to see the real inequities in access to health care in this country. For some people during the pandemic, they had wonderful, doctor and nursing care and access to great supportive medical insurance. Other people didn't have those resources, and the impacts were dire. One of the things that became very noticeable that we knew about before but didn't really know the dynamics of it, the lack of affordable, accessible child care and elder care is tremendous in this country. We saw literally thousands upon thousands of workers, mostly women, have to leave their jobs and stay home to care for their children and their elders because there was no other way to do it. That is a severe impact on our economy and on our social spirit. Job seekers had time to reevaluate while they were locked down in their homes. Think about, what do I want to do when the pandemic lifts? Do I want to go back to the same job, or do I want to strike out in a different direction? Do I need more training? Where do I want to go from here? This was an opportunity many people had never had before. Most of us were leaping from one job to the next, staying ahead, trying just to keep our families together. Now we had time to really think, what do I want to do? So this is a unique opportunity. And I always say, the pandemic, as disruptive as it's been, is also such a great opportunity because we are all a little more used to change. We're not quite as inflexible as we used to be. Let's take advantage of that. Hundreds of thousands, in fact, millions of New Yorkers are going to need job search help. This is truly remarkable. We've never seen anything like this since the Great Depression. At the same time, we understand even more that we have a mission to lift people out of poverty, and we have the tools to do that. We need to remove barriers. We need to innovate. We need to do things differently. And I think the pandemic is giving us that opportunity. It's really time to reimagine our workforce for both businesses and for job seekers. So the conversation has shifted, and it's time to embrace that change. How can we do things differently to support everyone, businesses and workers alike? In comes artificial intelligence, and that is a true game changer. AI is an opportunity to connect workers to jobs without considering their gender, their race, their age, any other factor that may keep people back. So we all have biases. I mean, it's a fact of being human. Some of them we know, some of them we're unaware of. We need to really be able to take those biases out of the employment picture. A couple of stories about me. So I'm a woman of a certain age, and many times, particularly in my early working life, I was often the only woman in a room, the only woman on a negotiating committee, the only woman selected for leadership in my union, the only woman to be selected for certain kinds of jobs. And I knew what it was like to be singular in a way that didn't feel particularly supportive. So here's what happens when you're in that situation. You open the door and you look in. If you don't see yourself in that room, one of two things usually happens. Either you shut the door and you don't go in because you think that's not for me, either you think they don't want you or just think I don't fit in there, or you throw the door open and you walk in the room, but now you're armored because you know you're not in that room already and you have to find a way to inject yourself into it. Neither approach is the best thing to do. That's what bias does. We can remove that bias. You know, as a young girl in Indiana, I was told I loved school, but I didn't like math. And I was told, well, it really doesn't matter. You're a girl. Girls don't like math. They're not good at it, so don't worry about it. You know, you'll take the classes, do the best you can, but it's really not a girl's thing. I shudder to think the opportunities that I lost with that advice. It was only later that I realized that one of the things I was really good at was music. And you know what music is? It's math. So we need to make sure that every worker has an opportunity to participate to their fullest. And AI removes a lot of that negativity in hiring. Let's talk about skills. So skills, let's think of skills as a language. It's a language we all need to get better at. Now, everybody needs training throughout their careers. We are now in the time of lifelong learning. You probably won't do the same job your entire working life, and if you do, that job's going to change because the industries are changing. So all of us need to expect at some point in our adult working lives to need more training. You can't depend on a 4-year or 2-year college degree or a certificate or even an apprenticeship to prepare you for an entire life's worth of work. So lifelong learning is critical. We've done surveys here at the Department of Labor during the pandemic, and we talked to thousands of people and found out that thousands of them are looking to change their industries. Now here's a mismatch. Businesses say they can't find skilled workers for their businesses. Workers say they need training in order to get into that business. It's a major misalignment. So what do we do about that? Well, first, let's stop talking about job titles. It's not, I need to hire a manager or a clerk or a receptionist. It really is, I need to hire someone who has the skill set to manage the people in my office or communicate to strangers or whatever those skills are. We need to talk to people about what they do, not the credentials that they have. We have to be nimble. We have to be ready to adapt to changes in industry. And we have to help workers be able to own and articulate their skills. And owning your skills is a very specific thing. So I was an actor in my former life. I know, another story for another time. And I loved it. But all actors have careers that go up and down, and they usually go out and try to find a second job or something else to help them through the lean part. The Actors Fund of America is a wonderful social service agency that works with everybody in entertainment, and one of the things they do is career help. So many actors go, I did, say, you know, what else can I do? And you sit down with a career counselor, and the counselor says, now we're going to write you a new resume, not your acting resume. What are your skills? Every actor I ever talked to said the same thing. Oh, I don't have any other skills. All I know how to do is act. And then the career counselor very patiently would say, okay, what do you do when you act? You're very proficient on your feet. You're easy in unusual circumstances. You're adaptable to change, on and on and on. And suddenly I realized I had a lot of skill I never knew I had. And those skills were valuable in other areas other than my chosen career. That's what we need to do for workers. It opens up a whole new world to them, but also gives them ownership of the skill sets that they have. AI will help us do that. It is a great tool. And then, of course, at the DOL in New York, we also have access to training. We have licenses for Coursera for underemployed people. Those are free for those folks, and they can go online and get more training. And of course, SUNY Online is a wonderful new resource here in New York State, and I'm sure other states have other programs like that. So what do we need? As I said, we surveyed thousands of businesses, thousands of job seekers. It became very clear two things are really, really key: digital literacy and professional soft skills. So let's not make assumptions about people's skills. Lots of young people especially work on their phones, love them all the time. They are little computers, but they are not the kinds of computers that you use in your professional work life. So they still need to be digitally literate. They may need to know different business suites, how to do PowerPoint, how to set up Zoom meetings, all of that. You're not going to learn that on your phone. So they need digital literacy. And remember, we stopped teaching typing in high school a long time ago, but people still need keyboard skills. So those are things that we can actually teach people that will improve their ability to get a good job, and it helps the business as well. Another thing, don't make the mistake of thinking that because someone is good at their job, that makes them a good manager. I was a really good actor. I would never have been a good director. They're two very different skills. So let's remember that management, whether it's supervisory or further up the food chain, those are very specific skills, and they're teachable and trainable and valuable. So let's talk a little bit about self-service for job seekers. We know that the scale of need is off the charts. We have literally over 1 million New Yorkers needing help in job search, but we're not going to be able to serve each person one-to-one the way we used to. It's just the scale is too vast. How can we do that? What's the tool that we can use? Well, obviously, virtual services is the answer. Technology is going to help us reach out to those workers where they are and address the questions that they have without having each person sit in a career center with a career counselor at that point. It's intensive service for those most in need, and it's using this new technology to its very best. We can help people reimagine themselves and see themselves in these new careers. So there are some wonderful positives here for business. Today, we have a critical need for two kinds of workers, skilled and entry-level workers. And remember, entry-level workers are your skilled workers of the future. So businesses need to invest in those workers as well. Recruitment equation has shifted. We need to better support business evolution. We need to help businesses diversify their workforce. Now, there's a thing in agriculture called hybrid vigor, and it means that as you're hybridizing either a crop or an animal to develop their strengths, you also bring in other elements because you don't want to overbreed them. You want to have things that make the whole much stronger. That's what we need to do in our workforces. That's actually what we do in our country. We're a democracy. We're not all one. We're not all from one country. We don't all speak the same language. We have different religions. We have different ethnicities. But together, we form this really strong, cohesive democracy. That's the kind of thing we need in our businesses as well. So let's work together with these wonderful tools from technology to help businesses grow and eliminate all of these inadvertent barriers. So I've laid out an awful lot of information and thinking about this, but here's the point. We can only do this collectively and intentionally. Our problems today are both short-term and long-term. We can't choose. We have to walk and chew gum at the same time. So as we come out of this global pandemic, there's a lot of potential to innovate, to embrace new ways, and change our path for the better. But our missions have not changed. If anything, they've become more relevant. What has changed is the toolbox we use. It is vast. Artificial intelligence, virtual services, these will be a critical part of our path forward. As Gandhi said, be the change you want to see. Each one of us, each one of you plays a part. Thank you so much for having me, and have a wonderful conference.